All right. Thanks everyone for jumping in today. As usual, plenty of stuff to discuss. And to start, I would like to ask for a volunteer for note-taking for this call, and primarily for identifying actionable tasks, interrupting us, and making sure we know who's responsible, and also summarizing the list of actionable items at the end of the call. Is there a volunteer that will help us today? All right. Daniel, do you want to help us?
Sure.
Perfect. Sounds good. All right. So the first thing to kick it off is the current focus on the first Kaggle submission. And for people that are not aware, we're streamlining all of our efforts towards the April 16th submission. And we're basically working on the integrating different pieces into the final notebook. And we've had some meaningful progress on integrating some of the TaskGeo team stuff into 3 other notebooks. So I'm trying to bridge that gap internally and figure out how we can make those submissions even more powerful. So the first thing to discuss is the coordinators' progress, onboarding coordinators versus team coordinators versus medical community coordinators, which I think we already have, but it will be great to hear from Tyler or Daniel on that domain.
Yeah, so I think one thing that would just be key, because we've had a lot of shifts around of who is in charge of different pieces around that, is if people can just name, if you're the person who someone should see if they need help for their task, or if you're the person they should see for their domain needs, so that everybody over the next couple of days knows where they should be directing those queries. And if all else fails, I'm going to put you on the spot, Tyler. I'm going to say, if you don't know where to send those queries, send them to Tyler, and he's going to be able to help route you to the right people.
It's starting to get like a little bit like that, but I've also started to get a bit of a better, I've got an idea of where everything's going now, so that helps. I did get a call, a message back only an hour ago from Maria Milano, who's someone's brought in to help us coordinate medical, or at least if nothing else, to translate between what we're thinking and what medical people might be thinking of the sort of questions they ask. She's come back with a document of potential questions the sort of the medical community might be asking of us. I'm going to reach out to ideally all the team leaders and see if they've got any questions they think they might be able to answer, and if they have any questions that they think the medical community might ask of them, so we're able to get a better idea of, obviously because this is going to be leaning towards the medical and the research community, to be able to understand what we're outputting, and it means to make sure that we output the right things and it's in the right consumable way for the people who are going to be actually actively using it, hopefully. So she's come back with that. It's got a nice little list of things. A lot of it's kind of covered, what are the 4 more relevant topics to you? There's a list, and then what other information is important to you to have on the website. So comorbidities, co-medication, signs and symptoms, laboratory findings. I'll share this list out to everybody, like each team, and then they can have a look through it and see if they've got, but I would like to see if anyone's got any questions before they see those sort of, so we're on the same line and we can think along the same thoughts. And if there's any other questions you can think the medical community might want to ask of you, because it's really that way around. Anyway, that's me on that side.
And thanks so much for putting together the current org chart. As chaotic as it is, like, it really gives a high-level picture of all the moving pieces.
I might use one of Lucid charts and build it out.
Mm-hmm. That would be great.
Yeah, what else have I got? The comms team, the internal comms team, kind of the way I'm dividing it right now, internal and external. The internal comms team, so HR, onboarding, that team is going to have a call after this to confirm the onboarding process, but I think it's kind of already cementing into a process, and it's sort of, we just make sure that we're all on the same page, and we're almost like we're using the right kind of language. And also, once I've got this org chart built up, the people who are newer to it can go and look at it and go, okay, this is the skill set. These skills are useful in this team, and this team. Because there's some people do turn up and they've got things that they're multidisciplinary. A lot of people are multidisciplinary skill sets. Daniel's in 2 different sets. everyone's probably in at least 2 or 3 different. Anybody who's doing coding-based stuff is probably in at least 2 teams or interacting with at least 2 teams, be it data sets or the subsets underneath data sets. So it's a case of clarifying. Obviously, most people aren't seeing that, but yeah, I'll see if I can get an org chart up, and that way, even if it goes out of date like everything else does, it'll be a snapshot of our layout right now. I think that's me for now. Everyone else can talk.
Sounds good. All right. So the next P is discussing human resources challenges and team needs progress. Is that you, Tyler, or Daniel? Maybe.
Probably me. Datasets team, we've been throwing people at. Brandon's seemed to be taking a bit of uptake on that. There's a few people have popped up. An interesting fella seems interested in helping, but he's also helping in several organizations and all that. And because he's helping out in these other organizations, he doesn't know how much he can do. Plus, he's got his own project. But if nothing else, he's giving me a list of other organizations doing similar things that we can maybe reach out to and see if we can reduce duplication of work or help each other refine on the process side and the development side. Or if nothing else, if we've developed something that they were about to do, go, this is what we've developed, you use it in your way, and it's open source in the ideas. So where did I stick him in my list? John Urbanek, he's popped up a couple of days ago. He's working on some open data science stuff. Looks like it's really interesting, but he's thrown a few links on me, so I'll work out where to stick that. And yeah, that's that. Other than that, VT, ties, risk are all, and Geo, no one's asked for anything new team-wise right now that I can see. And because we've just sort of formalized Datasets is starting to onboard a few more people, but I don't know if they need more right now, other than either maybe somebody to take over the HR and the management role. I'm sure someone was calling out for extra help on organization planning sort of side. I can't remember which team it was, but I'm looking out for one of them. And I am going to try and work out how to organize all the medical people and work out where they are, if they're in Slack, if they're not in Slack, look through the email list. But that's kind of a secondary, tertiary job right now. I can't think of anything else.
All right.
Oh yeah, I've been doing graphics and rendering out loads of graphics and stuff to make sure they're up to date. And I'm trying to bring all the graphics and other graphic stuff into one place rather than it being on some of it on Trello. I think that's my speech done. Have fun, guys.
Right.
The other piece around needs that I'd throw out there is just, thanks to Risk and Ties for filling out the Kaggle submission piece. Over the next couple of days, as we work on getting those notebooks fully prepared, just make sure, let us know whatever it is that you need, and let's look for commonalities of need across the 3 so that we can sort of remove any redundancies in the work in putting those submissions together.
Sounds good. All right. So the next piece is communications quick update. We are making some progress on the podcast. Have some basic structure, working on figuring out the proper pieces for the podcast, and we're shooting for the first episode being released like Wednesday or Thursday. Let's see if that happens. Ultra speed. Daniel, is there anything else on communications?
The main other things I'd say from communications, Tyler covered that internal communications piece well. Outside, what we're really working on is getting the new website into shape so that we can launch that out, and working on the mission, vision, values, and the pieces for the PR firm that's helping us out, just so that we can have a unified, solid, and clear message that we're sending out.
Yeah, and in terms of the communication and vision stuff, there was kind of the eureka moment when I realized why there was a conflict of understanding the values and why certain people wanted to see less of those. And in attempt to do that, I actually tried to separate the values from principles. So I kind of put the descriptive values, which are nouns, like transparency, impact, meritocracy, diversity, initiative, and separated them from guiding principles, verbs, which we should have, like, that manual that tells us how to deal with certain situations, especially repetitive situations, because every situation that we're gonna uncover is gonna be one of those. So basically the list of principles, like own it, share the love, simplify, collaborate, thoughtfully disagree, and others, I think we can basically start assembling this database of principles. And for those that are aware of Ray Dalio and his kind of the principles book, that's also a good resemblance of how we can mimic something like he created for Bridgewater Associates. All right. So we're going to quickly jump into the team reporting. I'm going to remind the basic structure, high-level progress, quick summary, and top 3 tasks that are being worked on, or just tasks, and time to results. What are the results and how soon you can showcase them, and main blockers. What do you need help with? And we're going to start with risk factors team. Maya, go ahead.
Hi. Yeah. So we have adopted the best practices from Israeli startup. When you have nothing but you present and get the investment. Not really, not really. We are basically doing the final notebook. We are gathering the code together. We have an amazing pieces of code. We have an amazing ideas on visualization. Besides the visualization that Mike Honey and his team can help us on, we will basically we have no blockers, okay? And I think that on 15th, we will pretty much have the final notebook that looks quite nice. At the moment, we decided that we will focus on the top high quality papers to kind of reduce the noise. And even though those require human assessment, that kind of, puts gives us a competitive advantage in comparison with most of Kaggle submissions so far that mostly includes the descriptive statistics. Instead of providing descriptive statistics, we say the following: here is the risk factor, and here is the most relevant papers per MD input that you can take a look at the moment, and that will make the most of impact at the moment. This will come together with all kind of n-gram clouds and beautiful charts and all kind like half descriptive statistics that are of less meaning, but like our primary target in a very kind of limited time that we have is to provide the most useful notebook, whatever it costs, like kind of at the moment. Does it make sense to you?
Yep, sounds like a plan. I think you guys have everything in place to make that happen. So yeah, let's just make it happen.
Cool, we are on that. Thank you.
All right. Next task, Geo team, Daniel.
Yes, hi everyone. So we are currently doing a bit of a sprint to provide, kind of all the most useful information about. We choose to Italy because it's where we're most advanced. Right, so we hope to provide this either today or tomorrow to the data visualization team, and let's see how it goes.
Sounds good. And quick update, I've had a conversation with each of the teams to understand how we can augment their notebooks with the amazing work that Geo team has done in terms of the data. And I feel that we will have some, reusable pieces of infrastructure that Geo team has built to add to each of the notebooks. So yeah, let's see how that will come together.
Sounds good. Yeah, let's discuss about that when we have provided the first version of the data, and then we can discuss with the other teams, and they can tell us what they think they need. We can tell them what we have.
Yep.
At the moment, like for example, we as the customers of Geo team, I'm sorry for interruption, we kind of plan to make sort of an appendix with useful materials, and we're going to present their amazing visualizations and data as a complementary materials for our staff.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to do it. not to interfere with the main notebook, but just kind of like, hey, like there is a risk factor in terms of age-related diseases or something, and hey, there is a visualization on population density and the age distributions from top interested regions or regions that have data. So I had a conversation with VT team on that in terms of showcasing the visual clusters where most of these drug research and clinical trials are happening. So kind of to give people that are interested in exploring that angle further in terms of the treatments and vaccines to understand where to go and whom to contact and where those clusters exist. And the same thing with the transmission team, kind of visualizing the incubation period and mapping that to some of the data that Geo team has produced. So we're going to jump to transmission team. Christine, go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, so pretty much like yesterday, we're just pushing to get the notebook together. We are really, really close. And we're on the same time have several tasks going on, extracting different information, and also actively in contact with other teams, like NLP teams, to get other meta information, like the geolocation, for example. So yeah, we're working on it, and it's going well. It's no blockers. It's just we need time to get them together.
Sounds great. All right, and the last, not the last one, vaccines team, Dan Sosa.
Hey everybody. So yeah, same with us. We just continue to clean up and polish the notebook. Yeah, improving our vocabularies we're searching for and all of that. Today we're going to think of how we can work with the Geo team to create some kind of quick intersectional product. And yeah, so that's going to be my main focus for the day, but things are good, no blockers.
Sounds great. And the last team being the Datasets team. Do we have Brendan or Mike today with us? Mike is probably sleeping because he's in Australia, and Brendan may as well. Do we have any coordinator for that team yet, Tyler?
It's on my list of things to do. I've found some potential, especially with like, because Datasets is going to be a much more high-level understanding. They need to be a much more code aware and much more code understanding than, not saying, I think everyone needs to be pretty high code for each task, but the Datasets is kind of the center of, yeah, it's much more technical. So because it's kind of the center of everybody else's technical building on top of, and I'm just trying to find the right kind of persons. A few people have popped up and I've not necessarily put them forward as coordinators because I don't want to recommend a coordinator who doesn't have the technical skill, and I'm kind of hoping that Brandon and Mike would be able to work out, oh, you seem to have the technical skill, and especially when they're saying, oh, well, I'm a project manager or one like that. If they have the technical skill to understand it, but the project management skills to complement them, then that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm not necessarily hunting for a project manager because it needs to be the right intersection of the technical skill and the project management skill. And there are a few people floating around, and I'll see if I can maybe. It depends because some people might already be put in other teams and someone might get poached, just saying.
Yeah, and a good person to look for might be the NLP, like senior NLP person that doesn't necessarily have a task to work on, but understands how most of the people deal with that data set from the NLP standpoint.
Like I said, in some time, I'm not completely the best person to make a judgment call of the quality of someone's skill set. That's part of the problem, especially because I'm only ever judging off of what people are saying or what they're linking, and not everyone's linking.
We need AI for that.
Yeah, exactly. We're getting to the point where I've got that many people with that many submissions and that many versions of it. It's a case of I'm going to have to probably shortlist it and then, for lack of a better word, interview, which is a really process to be in, but it's gonna
just validate it through like the same way I was reaching out to like 80 people, and then just letting the organic process filter out the relevant ones. That works better at scale.
Yeah, well, I don't know how many people are going to be a crossover for them two skill set. But to be fair, we've got a lot of people who are like entrepreneurs and self-made people, or people who have got like lots of 15 years project management. But the problem is with all them people are often really busy with their life, because I imagine jobs like that don't stop in the middle of this crazy upheaval that we're all living through.
If anything, those jobs are in more demand because of the uncertainty.
Exactly. That skill set has become even more in demand, and they're probably busy. But I'm going to have a look around and see how we can pull into it. I don't know. Maybe Anton will step up and do it. Who knows?
All right. Are there any things, Daniel, that we should be bringing up today?
Last thing I'll just mention is on the 15th, we have the call with Professor Stibe in the morning. If anybody has questions that they would like to see him get asked, you can go into the Datasets channel, into the Smart Cities channel in Slack, and throw them there.
I think what's missing in our current communication protocol for that thing is explaining how it's beneficial to what we're doing in terms of, like, I think it's a far stretch to imagine like smart cities and what we're doing right now. So to give you an example, that Sagar guy that is going to do a webinar, which is actually a good announcement to make. We're going to have a webinar tomorrow at 9 a.m. PST on how to work with domain experts and properly extract the knowledge out of them. And that is primarily for data scientists, but I think anyone in our group should be interested in that, and just listening in to the framework that Sagar is going to present from his personal experience and some of the general knowledge that exists on our internet. And I think what is helpful is bridging that thing between what person is good at and how it helps us. And I think we have to communicate better in terms of how Professor Stibe is relevant to what we're doing. Maybe you can take a minute right now to kind of give that explanation so we can use it.
So the two key pieces there are, because what he does a lot of is working with cities using their municipal data to figure out how do you transform public behavior in positive ways. It means that he both knows what kinds of data are probably out there and accessible for someone like Team Geo to get access to, and can help us make those connections to get access to information so that we understand what are people actually doing on the ground. And if we can match up, say a city in Italy, if we can find a city that is a good candidate for having data that's rich that we could use, that we also have a lot of COVID-19 data for, that could allow us to have a much more fine-grained understanding of what's working and what isn't in terms of responses to things, as well as towards transmission and other factors like that. The other place where it's handy is because, again, he works on that piece of how do you take that data and make reinforcing feedback loops with the public that change behavior. As we're starting to have some of the splinter groups that are kind of coming off and working on their own tasks, that's something to consider, is what are the ways that we can be using the data that we have access to. We're ideally situated to be able to come up with ways that cities are able to use to help their publics respond more effectively. And that's something that can have fast, lasting, and significant impact.
Makes sense. Thank you. And it's amazing to see how many of these different individuals are joining us in terms of like actually adding value and content for our group. And they're usually, you can see these things happening in a typical environment, in a corporate environment, but always there is something attached to it, right? There is someone selling you something. There is someone trying to pitch their company. In this situation, we're having purely organic collaboration and desire of individuals to help us as a group. And even though they can't join our Slack, they're creating all of these things like webinars to promote us, or webinars to help us better extract knowledge, and webinars to tell us how to work with smart cities and in cities in general. So it's just very inspiring to see that happening. All right, so I think we still have a couple of more minutes for a quick Q&A from anyone who has any questions, anyone who is new or confused or has any kind of needs to fulfill. This is your time to speak up. Just let us know.
Hi, Archer. This is Shannon. I just wanted to let everyone know again that the new calendar seems to be working, but in order to take advantage of it, you need to have special access in order to edit it. So I'm wondering if there's anybody for whom I haven't added permissions yet who is a team lead who would like to use the calendar to post their meeting details. Okay, if you're on this call and you would like to use the calendar to post your meeting details, you can always PM me. And I also ask that if you're going to do that, that you uncheck the button that makes your invite list public. So that way we can keep everybody's emails private.
Sounds great. Thank you, Shannon. Also, quick ask, if you can change your name to full name on Slack, that will be beneficial. We're getting multiple Shannons right now, so just to make sure people are contacting the right Shannon.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Anyone else?
Hi, it's Frankies here. I am working with Humaria and also Yada. We're going to have a call regarding onboarding. And Humaria is focusing on med students and physicians. And we are just wanting to stay up to date with needs. And there was a note that the vaccines team was wanted on hold with new volunteers. Is that still true, Dan?
At the moment, yes. The only thing that we need is help with project management, but that's like different than just like a coder at the moment.
You need a coder or no?
At the moment, no.
Okay.
So they need basically a team lead support.
Okay.
So project management or something similar. I knew there was someone, but I can't remember which team it was. And
I think Christine might be. Christine might be interested too. Yeah.
And there's a few of you are starting to like, can we have extra people to help us organize things?
Because we just keep growing a lot, so there's emergent kind of structure, and it would be helpful, I think.
Yep.
Arthur, may I please use this time unethically? But there is a team in risk task that we work on submission, and we really need you to grant us an access, because meanwhile we are doing it in all kind of relevant Kaggle notebooks. So I edit you and talk to you. Please provide our members with an access, okay, to the general notebook under the CoronaWhy, okay?
Sounds good.
Please.
Just message me with the handles.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay, do you want me to run through the action items we've got?
Sounds good.
Okay, so Tyler's going to make an org chart based off the awesome descriptions that he made earlier. Maya's gathering code, visualization, etc. for that notebook, and Arthur's going to make sure she has access to the general notebook. Let's see, Geo is doing that sprint to provide the most useful info today or tomorrow to the DataViz folks. Arthur's working on our 3 submissions and how they can best use Geo's work. Maya's making that appendix for the Geo aspect. Christine's prepping a notebook and getting geolocation information. VT is working with Geo. There's a lot of Geo here. Working with Geo to define kind of their intersectional products that they're going to have. And Tyler's going to work with Brendan to find a coordinator for data sets.
It sounds like everyone needs an extra coordinator at this rate. Yeah, Fatima's come up and popped up and asked for a question, but it doesn't mind. Looks like Dan's picked it up, so it doesn't matter.
All right. All right. Thanks everyone for jumping in today. I'll be uploading the video shortly. And again, stay healthy, stay sane. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.